Welcome to the Building a Bulletproof Back podcast. As a physio, I'm on a mission to reduce the back pain epidemic. These conversations that you're about to listen to with leading edge teachers and back pain sufferers is my attempt to evolve the mainstream medical approach to treating stubborn back pain. You see, I firmly believe that building a bulletproof back requires mental, physical, and emotional strategy. Let's see what pearls of wisdom we can share with you today. Thanks for listening and thanks for being here. Hey everyone, welcome. Hope you like that new intro. It's probably a little bit better than the than the last guy we had. I've got sitting with me here Andrew Mann, who a few of my local colleagues have said is the next guy we need to chat to. So welcome, Andrew. I'm really pleased you could spare your time to come and sit and have a chat with me.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm quite honoured to be asked to come along.
Are you? You're honoured? Well, you've got a great story, I hear.
Yes.
And it's really interesting talking to you because I actually haven't heard your story yet. I hear it's a ripper, so I'm looking forward to hearing it. I'm quite impressed that you're able to sit on 2 yoga blocks. You're a tall guy and you're sitting on the floor on some yoga blocks. So that's a sign to me your back's in pretty good shape. So would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yeah, sure. My name's Andrew. 47 years of age, married with 3 daughters who are now 18 and above. So
Wow.
They've just left home. I've still got one at home, and I work for a company called Spender, which is a software development company.
Cool.
So we write software for businesses to help them get online and point of sale and that sort of stuff.
Great.
And my role in that company is business analyst, so I help design the software, work out the requirements and things like that.
Great.
So it's mostly a desk-bound job.
Desk, yeah,
and
right.
I used to have to travel to Perth, but with COVID and that sort of stuff happening, I now work from home mostly. My hobbies are mountain biking, cycling.
I thought mountain biking might come up.
I'm a keen windsurfer as well,
Oh,
which
hey.
I've got back into in the last year or so.
Okay.
Which has been really good. And yeah, just like to keep active and healthy and live a healthy lifestyle.
Great.
In Margaret River.
Yeah, you don't look old enough to have 3 grown-up daughters.
No, my wife's a little bit older than me.
Okay.
And so I had kids first. The twins were born when I was 27.
Wow.
So I'm 47 now. So they've 20 now.
Yep.
And moved to Perth for university.
Yep.
So yeah, people often say that to me that I look too young to have teenage daughters or adult daughters now.
What a great compliment to have, hey?
Yeah.
All right, well, let us start the story. Go for it. Tell us your story.
My story happened back in 2015 in November. I just finished a 4-day race with the Tour of Margaret River. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that event.
Yeah, the Tour of Margaret River, which is now the Tour of Nannup, no?
Yeah, it's Tour of Nannup.
Tour of Nannup, but called the Tour of Margaret River.
That's right. So I was in that with a bunch of mates, 6 mates, and we finished that. And we decided the following day on the Sunday to go for a mountain bike just to unwind and have a chill out. And we took a couple of other people that we'd met on the tour, and we thought we'd take them out mountain biking and show them the local mountain bike trails. So we went out on a Sunday and we went to just South Carters, which is a local favourite for mountain biking. And we were riding for about an hour and a half. And we were just about to head out and we thought, we'll go down one last trail. And I remember saying to myself, I'm not really keen to do this last trail. But I said, well, that's what the group wants to do, so we'll do that. And I've done this trail many times before. It's nothing new for me. And we set off on the trail. And 2 guys went in front of me and then I was the next one out of the 6. And I just remember coming around the bend and thinking, I'm going a bit too fast for this jump that's coming up. And there was no time for me to wipe my speed off. So I sort of just hit this jump, not a big jump, but I just went flying over the handlebars. And the last thing I remember was putting my hands out in front, thinking, I'll slide out and I'll get a bit grazed and bruised, but it should be fine.
Yeah.
The next thing I knew, I woke up on the other side of the track and came to after about apparently 5 minutes being unconscious.
Wow.
And what had happened is I'd slid off the track into a log head first.
Oh, head first.
Head first.
Yeah.
So, and I literally bounced and landed on the other side of the track.
Was there a helmet on?
I had a helmet on,
Yeah.
but we were just cross-country riding, so I didn't have any downhill protective gear. I'm not a downhill mountain biker.
Okay.
So I had a helmet on, and apparently what happened, I hit head first, and then my head went into my chest,
Right.
and then my legs, I had so much momentum that my legs followed through, and I literally just folded in half.
Wow.
And I was extremely lucky to be cycling with 6 other guys, or 5 other guys, or 6 of us.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you go out on your own, and it's close to town, but there's no mobile signal there. So if I'd been on my own, it would have been in a lot of trouble. Luckily for me, the guys behind me following, they knew straight away something was not right. And I came to coughing up blood and could barely breathe, and I was in a lot of discomfort.
Wow.
But I had no real idea what I'd done at that point. The pain was sort of intense, but sort of numbing at the same time. It was just, your body just goes into sort of a survival mode, I think. And but my mates knew what was wrong, and they kept me still.
Good.
Which probably saved my legs, to be honest.
Yeah.
So they knew what to do. And I thought I was having trouble breathing at that point, and I just thought I've punctured my lungs or broken some ribs, and that's what I've done. Not thinking I'd broken my back, my legs were moving, even though I couldn't stand up because I was in that much pain. My legs were actually moving, so I had no idea that I'd done something to my back. So my friends did all the right things to get me out of there. They, one went up the hill to get mobile signal, phoned the ambulance. 2 guys rode back to my place, got my wife who came out, and then they got the ambulance in and stretchered me out. And it took about an hour and a half to get me back to Marriott River Hospital, just because it was a fairly remote bit of bush, and they had to carry me out half a kilometre because there's no way the ambulance could get to.
Were you carried out on a stretcher?
I was carried out on a stretcher, so it did take a while, and I got a bit frustrated while I was lying on the ground because of the pain, and I said, I'm just going to get up and walk out. And luckily my friend just firmly but gently just said, no, just stay still, Andrew. Which, really did save my back. And so they went to ambulance, came, they put me in a stretcher and put the whole, they treated me like a spinal injury. And so they carried me out, and then came to Marriott River Hospital, where I was admitted to the ER.
Yep.
And the doctor there, he was certain I'd done something to my neck because my face was all grazed and bloody, and I had scratches all down my neck where I'd hit the deck, and you could see I'd hit my head. So he was convinced I'd done something to my neck. So he triple checked my neck, but couldn't find anything wrong, but kept the brace on. And then he proceeded to roll me over and gently test down my spine and press my ribs. And when he got down to the mid-chest region, my ribs, that's when I flinched.
Right.
And he knew straight away something was majorly wrong.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still thinking broken ribs.
Yeah.
That's all that I've done. So my legs are fine. I haven't lost any sensation in my legs or anything. So he said, look, we're going to send you straight to Bunbury Hospital. They've got better X-ray machines up there and MRI. So I was put back into the ambulance for the hour trip up to Bunbury, where I underwent some X-rays and MRI and finally got onto some painkillers, which was...
Really? It took that long for the
It took a while. Like, they gave me the green whistle that you get in the ambulance, but you're only allowed to have 2 of those or something like that. So, it was pretty traumatic at that point. And then they told me in the hospital that I'd broken my back. And at that point...
how did they deliver that news?
That was delivered a little bit clumsily, to be honest. And it was bizarre because I was lying there and I've had x-rays and I had to go back for another x-ray because they were concerned about the lungs. The lungs were coming back all black. And what I'd done is actually completely punctured my lung, burst it.
Wow.
So they had to keep taking me back to get more scans to check the full extent of the damage, and I apparently ruptured my liver as well. So I really had done myself a big crunch. And so every 15 minutes I had nurses coming along and touching my toes, saying, "Can you feel your toes?" And I said, "Yeah, my toes are fine. I can feel them." But every 15 minutes, religiously, they were. And then a young intern doctor was on my case as well, and he came in and he said, "Oh, about your back." And I said, "What do you mean about my back?" And he realised then that I hadn't been told. But he, to his credit, was really good, and he explained what had happened and that I'd shattered my T7 vertebrae, which is, if you think of your sternum right there, it's right in the middle of your chest. And he said I pretty much had smashed it.
Right.
And it's called a compression fracture. So my spine had compressed from top to bottom, with my head hitting the log and my leg coming up with the momentum, and then basically folding in half.
Wow.
T7 was being crushed between the other two vertebrae and it's exploded, literally.
Wow.
And it sounds unlucky, but I had so much luck in what happened, because when it did explode, it exploded forward away from the spinal cord.
Oh.
So even though the wings of the vertebrae were also broken, the explosion of my vertebrae, and I think I've sent you the X-ray.
The pictures will be in the show notes.
Yeah, so your vertebrae, when you look at your X-rays, it's sort of like a cube, a solid cube of each vertebrae is a solid cube of bone. Well, my T7 just shattered. And luckily for me, it had exploded away from the spinal cord. So that's why I wasn't feeling any loss or numbness.
But on top of that, you had fractured ribs.
I had broken ribs.
Lung,
I had
and liver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And they weren't concerned about liver, and I was thinking, "Oh, the liver, what have I done there?" I said, "Oh, don't worry about that. That recovers."
Isn't it funny what we perceive as a big deal and what medical people with a bit of knowledge think of as the priority?
Don't worry about that. But the priority of them was my back, obviously. So back to that intern that accidentally told me the news. He was really good, and he actually explained what had happened. But at that point, that was probably the lowest point of my mentally for me. I lost it completely at that point.
Yeah.
My daughter was next to me.
Because what did that statement? Where did your mind go hearing that? Did you go into, "Oh my God, I'm going to be a paraplegic"?
Yeah, and I thought, my immediate reaction was, what have I done? What have I done to my body? What have I done to my family? What am I going to put them through? What does this mean? Does this mean 6 months of, is my life over? Is it changed? And I just you just think the worst. And when someone says you've broken your arm or your finger, you just sort of, oh, you can deal with that. But when it's your back, something so
fundamental to your existence,
you're thinking, where do I go from here? And I completely lost it at that point. That was when I just gave in to the emotions and I just let it all out. My daughter was there, and it was quite an emotional point then, but it didn't last too long. But I think that was part of the process, just to deal with that, just let it out. Just deal with it. But then I quickly recovered myself, and I thought, hang on, I'm in hospital, I'm alive, I can feel my legs. So far, everything's still okay. As long as nothing goes wrong from this point on, we should be able to get through this. So I basically just at that point had to submit myself to the system of our medical system, which they're amazing. We've got an amazing medical system, and we're very lucky where we live in Australia.
Oh, aren't we? I think
I was sitting there in my bed just thinking, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't move. I cannot get out of bed, so I have to just do what they tell me to do. So they sent all the X-rays off up to Perth. There's a spinal unit team in Perth, apparently some of the best in the world.
Great.
And they had a look at my X-rays and my MRI scans and said, yep, he's definitely a case for us. So then it was a matter of preparing me for an airlift up to Perth that morning. So this is early Monday morning now. So this happened. The accident happened lunchtime Sunday, and this is now getting on to early Monday morning, and they had to fix my lung up before they could put me up in an airplane. So they did that, and then they sent me up to Royal Perth Hospital, and I was admitted.
What did they do with the actual fractured vertebrae or the smashed vertebrae? Did they paste it back together somehow?
No.
Did they do?
So I got to Perth, and then I was, treated as a spinal patient, obviously. So I was in the same ward with car accident victims and those sort of people. And I was given, access to the best spinal doctors, and they, luckily for me, their next round of surgery was the Tuesday, and I was submitted on the Monday. And so they worked out what they needed to do to me. Apparently it took them a fair bit of deliberation as to what they wanted to do, because there's a toss-up between, do you let it try and heal together, or do they fuse?
Yeah.
And they went with the fusion because if you look at the X-ray, the shattered bones were too far apart.
Okay.
And they were never going to reabsorb.
Yeah.
And so they said, no, we need to fuse you. And so on the Tuesday morning, I went in for an operation. It was 5 hours. And they basically opened me up at the back. And I've got a 20 centimetre scar in my back. And they put 2 titanium rods down each side of the spine and screwed my vertebrae 2 above T7, 5 and 6, and then below 8 and 9.
Yep.
They're all fused, so I felt like a bit of scaffolding, if you like, in my back now, and that part is permanently fused. And to be honest, if you're going to get back fusion, that part is
off the back. I was just about to say that.
Yes.
It's probably the part of our spine that has the least mobility anyway.
Yes.
So, well done for choosing T7.
Yeah. But had it been in the neck or lower down, it's I know people that have had injuries in that part, getting fusion in those areas can cause a lot more problems as far as mobility. So for me, getting the fusion there is part of the rib cage area. Like you say, it's fairly locked in, that part of it anyway. So I did that. So that was on the Tuesday, and then they sent me home on the Friday.
Wow. It's a week turnaround.
That was just amazing. Really. I actually was lying in bed and thinking, I'm here for 6 months at least, Shenton Park rehab, here we come. That sort of thing.
Wow.
But no, I was shocked when they said, no, if you can sit up out of your bed and we'll take an X-ray of your titanium.
Yeah.
Rods, we make sure that they're all in the right place.
Yeah.
Then if you can walk up some steps, you can go
You're
home.
Out of here. And so what was the pain like after? Had the pain shifted a lot after the fusion? Was there less pain?
Yes. So obviously you're dealing with surgery pain now. So before that it was more just, it wasn't a sharp pain. It was just a real aching, bone ache sort of a pain. But after surgery you've got, they cutting you open and there's a lot of manipulation going on, so you've got major surgery pain and you're lying on it.
Yeah,
so I'm lying on my back.
That's a factor, isn't it?
I'm lying on my back, which is where they cut me open.
Yeah, ow.
So, and unfortunately for me, I had an adverse reaction to the drug regime, and I started having hallucinations and bad thoughts. So they had to then take me off the drugs and then put me on another set of drugs.
Right.
So in the meantime, they can't just swap from one set of drugs to another.
Right.
You have to actually go back to Panadol. So I was
Panadol osteo at least, or just Panadol?
Yeah, just osteo. So there was a period there where I was in a lot of pain on that Wednesday.
And when you were in severe pain, what was your strategy for coping with it?
Just staying calm. And that's one of the things I did when I did have the accident, because I couldn't breathe. I found my breathing techniques that I adopt for my asthma, which is to slow your breathing down and just stay calm. Really helped. So I just did that. And I just tried to relax as much as I could. And
I guess with your mind, you tried to focus on
other
what was
things.
working well.
But I was already setting myself challenges in my head to how I was going to get out of this.
Great.
Because I was on the road to recovery then. So something had been done.
Yes.
And prior to the operation, I asked lots of questions, so did my wife. I wanted to know what I'd done to my back. Don't just tell me I've broken it. Tell me
how and where
and what it means. So I asked all those questions. I'm a naturally inquisitive person anyway.
Right.
But I think understanding once you've got that knowledge about what is going on, you feel more empowered, and I think yourself.
It's a strange thing because some people actually don't want to know. Like, I'm with you. I need to know. I need to see, visualize all of it. But I have patients that, I really don't want to know. Just tell me what I'm going to do to get it better. So they don't seem to need that self-education, which it's something I struggle with, but I also have to honour we all think differently. We all need different things. But I think a little bit of knowledge is useful personally. But
I think I definitely do, because I think if you know what's going on with your body, you probably know what you need to do to it to help it and to get it fixed and understand its behaviour and what triggers it to go bad and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it's showing a level of respect too.
For the body?
For the body.
Yeah, I love it.
If you try and understand it and what's going on.
Yeah, and this idea that respect for the body, it's a funny thing you say, because every time we have pain, our body is trying to communicate something.
Yes.
And if we show it respect by listening to it and asking it, all right, what are you trying to communicate here?
Yep.
Then that's the respect, isn't it?
Yep.
Whereas the opposite is, go away. This hurts. Ignore, distract, push down, see you later. The body has a really great way of continually saying, well, I'm not going away yet. I'm not going away yet. In fact, I'm going to get a bit worse.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the points from my learning is learning about pain. And there's good pain and there's bad pain.
Yeah, so talk to us a bit more about that.
Good pain is pain that your body is indicating that something's sore. And it doesn't, and whereas bad pain is the ouch, and that's the high level intense pain that will make you stop in your tracks.
Okay.
That's telling you you've pushed too far.
Right.
And that's what I found with my recovery.
Yeah.
Is that, yes, I was in pain, but that, to me, that's just the body saying, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I actually think pain is your body's pathway to tell itself it's got to fix something.
Okay.
And I think we overdo the drugs and we mask that body's signal to get better. So when we move and we're sore, it hurts, but it's good pain. You've hurt yourself. You might have gone for a run and your legs are sore, or you've just tweaked a little a ligament or something like that. It'll be sore, but it won't be extremely painful. It's not stopping you. But it's your body's way of saying, hey, just back off a bit, but keep moving.
Yes.
Because movement is good.
Yeah.
And it's just saying, hey, the pain's there, and it's your body's signal to say, oh, we're going to fix this. Whereas sharp pain,
it's definitely a signal
saying,
stop.
Hey, just stop what you're doing there. You've pushed it too far.
Yeah.
Come back a bit.
Yeah. Or go in another direction.
Go in another direction, and then just push it a couple of days later.
Yeah.
You'll get past that point.
So what you're saying is you're working with the pain.
Yes.
It guides you.
Yep.
Yeah, and in that way, when we make peace with it, there's less of this sort of bashing our head, trying to escape it, trying to run from it, trying to, having said that, I can hear a lot of people saying, yeah, you try making peace. I've been in pain for 10-something years. Yeah. I'm not, making peace with it in the moment actually eases it somewhat, but it's not in any way saying you accept it into your life. It's just a transient way of dealing with it in the moment, and instead of resisting it, because what we resist persists. So it's that nice idea of, okay, in this moment I'm going to make peace with the pain, which is not me saying I'm accepting it into my life. I'm just going to work with it. Yeah, the relationship with pain is a something you can talk about forever, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And look, I think I've been very fortunate with ongoing pain. I've got to manage it, but
So what is residual now? So talk to me about that. Or let's go to your rehab. What sort of things did you embrace for your rehab?
First of all, it was my mental. My wife said to me, she said, you were so single-mindedly focused. I've never seen you did a mind shift.
Right.
And you were just so focused on your recovery. And I look back at it now, and I did. I set myself a challenge and said, right.
So you made it the priority.
I made it my priority. So everything else went out the door.
What do you think allowed you to do that?
having good support network around you.
Okay.
So family, daughters.
Well, why do you think people wouldn't do that?
Wouldn't
make it a priority? Why do people sort of...
Maybe it's the severity of the injury. I mean, I've had a pretty life-changing event that could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
So I had this reflection of I could have been the guy next to me in the bed who had no movement in his legs again, had a machine to lift him out of bed. That could have been me.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe my accident and the fact that I was lucky in the sense that I still had movement in my legs when I could have easily, if I stood up at that moment afterwards, if my mates had let me stand up, I could have lost all movement.
Different outcome,
And if you imagine having movement and then suddenly standing up and
not
losing it,
that
would have been quite devastating.
It would have,
So I think maybe the fact that my accident was so severe, it was a wake up to say, you've been lucky, so now it's up to you to make this right.
Okay.
So maybe that's part of it for me, but I think for me I also just went, I'm just going to do this. I want to get better. I want to get as best as I can. Yeah.
And was that driven by your desire for your own body, or were you also getting a vibe about your impact? You didn't want to be a drag on your family?
Yes, I didn't want to be a drag on my family, but I've always set myself goals in life, and I think that part of it, you set yourself, your recovery should be a goal, and you break it down into small steps.
Chunk it.
And just say, I'm going to get better. And that's the first thing I think is your mental. You've got to say, I will get better.
Great.
Just have that. Yes, you have your bad days, but overall, you got to convince yourself you will get better.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer if your mind thinks that, the body will follow.
Yeah.
And so I was firmly fixed that I am going to get as best I can. And I set myself a new norm. I said, I'm not going to be the same ever again. I can't be. So don't be unrealistic. So I said, I had to sort of go, what is my new norm? What would I be happy with?
Wow.
And I always said, well, if I'm walking again and I'm doing most exercises I was doing before, I didn't think I would windsurf again. Because windsurfing takes a lot of upper body strength and mobility and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought if I can get back on the bike or I can walk and do all those things, I'm happy and I'll have some form of pain.
Okay.
As long as it's manageable,
right.
I thought that's a pretty good outcome given what I've done to myself.
Right.
So I set myself a new normal target to get to.
Yeah. And have you got there? Sounds like you have.
I've exceeded it.
I love it.
So if you ask me now, I'm a little bit uncomfortable sitting here now, but that's just sitting down.
Probably should have got you a much better chair.
It's not pain. It's not pain. I've exceeded my normal.
That's so exciting.
I'm actually back to about 90% of my original ability.
So good.
Which is amazing.
It is amazing.
But I credit that to not just my attitude and my recovery and my family, but to the people that helped me along the way.
Yeah, so talk to me about the people that came into your world on a rehab sense and, what sort of things they did that I guess kept you inspired, kept you motivated, kept you tracking in the right direction. Some of the things perhaps they said at the right time.
Yeah, well, obviously I got discharged from the spinal unit. They're brilliant, but they don't do much for your after rehab. They hand you over to pretty much to your doctor.
Right.
So my local Dr. Bob, who you know, he put me on to Amy Smith at the local rec centre, because she's a rehab
exercise physiologist. Yeah.
And she was instrumental in my recovery regime and setting up a plan.
Yeah, she's a big
and it started small. I mean, I was bed bound basically. So
yeah.
I had a chair. I found a chair that leaned back more comfortable than a bed.
Right.
So I slept in a chair for the first few weeks. And my first goals were just to get up, stand up, sit down. That was my first target.
Wow. Get up, stand up, sit down.
Stand up and then sit down. And then the next day I might walk out to the deck and come back. And the pain would be excruciating.
Really?
And you knew you were pushing it.
Okay.
That was recognising that good pain, bad pain.
Gotcha. Yep.
And I'll get to the deck and go, no, that's too much now.
Gotcha.
Go back.
So you could work within pushing but not
overdoing
stressing too much.
Not overdoing it. And I always had I haven't got an addictive personality, but I've heard about people getting addicted to painkillers and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So that was always on my mind as well.
Right.
And so I did take the drugs that they gave me, obviously, so there's no point in being in pain while you're recovering from
of course,
surgery.
traumatic injury,
You might as well just take the drugs. And
you need to, there's an element of, in that situation, protecting your brain from the pain.
Yes.
Because the brain learns pain.
Yeah.
So you do need in high-level pain to protect the brain.
Yeah.
And that's where, in those situations, drugs are just really great.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a time to withdraw.
Yeah, and I gave myself time to withdraw. So after a few weeks, I started cutting back on the drug dose. So you take your drugs every 4 hours or something like that. Well, then you might wait 5 or 6. And if the pain wasn't bad, I wouldn't take them. So you just let your body tell you when it was ready to cut back. But if you had that as part of your plan, then you're not going to get addicted to these drugs. I think we become too reliant on painkillers. And I think that can also be part of the problem, is that the drugs can mask our pain receptors or cause our pain receptors to work even harder.
They adapt,
and it's like
don't they? Yeah.
They create a more permanent pathway for the pain. There's lots of studies on that, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
So, again, could I research? And
you are a researcher, aren't you?
Person
you know more about back pain than I do.
So I had it in my mind, just cut off the drugs. Don't go overboard, but just reduce them at a rate that the body's telling you that you can. And that was commensurate with my walking. So walking became my new exercise. Because I was about there. Apart from the rehab stuff I did in the pool and that Amy set up in the gym.
Okay, so a bit of gym, a bit of pool and a bit of walking.
A lot of walking.
Great.
So that was what I could do in my time.
Yeah.
So
and when you were walking, were you playing with how you walked? Were you thinking about your arm swing and your foot stride and where your eyes were going and what your rib cage was doing?
I was just happy to be walking, to be honest. I was just enjoying walking out into the bush. I got to the deck and then I get to the driveway and then I got down the driveway.
Right, that's a nice little objective marker.
Each day. And look, most days I would be able to get a bit further. And then, so for most part of my journey, it was always moving forward. But you get a couple of days where you go 2 steps back. And you just got to accept that.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you know they're built into the system, then you don't fall, you don't lose your shit when it all happens.
So you've got to start to stay mentally active. But people used to see me walking around town with my neck in the shoe brace and there's Andrew off his walk. So I was happy just walking. I built up to something like 15 k's in a day.
Oh wow!
And and it became my.
Do you still walk now?
I do,
yeah,
because it's something I always thought, no, that's for when I get a bit older and slow down. But I think I've got this connection with walking now because now when I have a break on my desk from the computer work, I go for a walk. Yeah. Because it just frees my mind. And,
of course. It's a rhythmic action too. It's really good for us walking, and it kind of mobilises every part of our body. Yeah. And particularly then when you combine it with walking in nature.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Double whammy.
Yeah. I think people underestimate how good walking is just for the body.
I agree. And
people go, it's low impact. Yes, it's low impact, but it's still movement.
Especially if you walk well. There's so many factors to play with in how we walk, and there's every single person has a unique gait pattern. Yep. And it's so fascinating. One of my favourite pastimes is, sitting in a cafe, drinking coffee, watching how people walk.
Right, okay.
And my kids even now are like, oh, Mum, check out that person's right foot. It's not moving at all, is it? And it's like, yeah, you can see that. And they're like, yeah, I can see that. So I'm creating 2 little monsters with assessing movement patterns. But, the way we move matters, and, even something as simple as walking can be an avenue to optimising so much about our movement patterns if people are just alerted to a few little tips or tricks or become aware of what they're doing. But that's for another day. Talk to me what you would call a bulletproof back. What does that look like to you based on what you've been through?
A bulletproof back, I think, is a back that is understood and respected. Because I think people get an injury. Yeah. And I've had lower back problems even before I had this accident. Right. And, you're lying in bed and you can't move and you get that shooting pain and then you get better and then you forget about it. Yep. And we don't put enough respect into our backs and what it actually does for you. And I think our whole exercise regime should be around the back first. We tend to go to the gym, work out our arms and legs and stuff. But I've now shifted totally to working out my back and being the core.
I would add a little. I think it should be about your feet first.
feet.
Because I don't think your back can do what it should be able to do if it's not centered on your feet well.
Yeah, right.
So from a purely structural element, if your pelvis isn't centered well on your feet, that back can't perform optimally, no matter how strong the core is.
Yep.
So I like what you're saying.
That's interesting because when my back does lower back, because now they've got fused back, I don't have too much problem with the fused area. It's the rest of my back that I have to be careful of above and below because the back is like a big spring.
Exactly.
But now I've lost a bit of that spring. So
but you understand it so well, hey? That's what you're saying. You're understanding why it's reacting and what it's doing.
Well, that enables me to, I think, judge what I'm going to do. So jumping down off a wall or something like that, it's not such a good idea for me because it's going to compress. Or if I do, I've really got to use my legs and make sure that I get the spring in the legs. I've changed my running style to definitely run barefoot or on my toes.
Good.
But
to
funny
get
thing
your
to say
feet to
about
activate,
the pelvis is when my lower back goes, it's usually when my pelvis has gone out.
Yeah.
And that triggers.
Well, it's funny. Everyone talks a lot about the lower back, the lumbar spine, L1 to L5. No one ever talks about the pelvis. And to me, the pelvis is the foundation for the spine. So, and your pelvis can't sit centered if your hips aren't centered, and your hips can't be centered if your feet aren't working. So it is that integrated model of how we move. And you're talking about walking, and walking is where it all comes alive. You know, every time we transfer weight through one foot, it transfers in 0.6 of a second. So your whole centre of mass has got to move through each foot 0.6 of a second. Now, the pathway that it moves through the foot, there's an optimal and then there's a very suboptimal. And if the optimal centre of mass management through the foot is achieved, everything gets activated. Everything. Every fascial line lights up. Every joint gets mobilised. If you miss that opportunity in that 0.6 and you're not using your foot correctly, you've got some parts underutilised and some parts overworked. And, you know, so that I guess it's part of why I keep coming back to the foot. It's that point of contact when we walk and it's that moment in time that is an opportunity or a missed opportunity. And, you know, I think we're slowly evolving to understand how it all fits together. But getting back to this, I love what you said about the bulletproof back. It's a completely new concept, isn't it, from what I've heard others share. And I love that everyone has a different perspective on it. If we think about, or if you could pass on your top 3 tips for someone sort of stuck in persistent pain right now, knowing what you know, having been through what you've been through, could you put it in 3 things? Or is that a bit too simplistic?
I have tried. And there's 3 main points I could say. One is mental health and mental attitude. I know that sounds hard and very easy just to say, you know, just have a good mental outlook and it will get better. Tell yourself it will get better.
It will get better.
But there's a whole lot of things that you can put under that and that is the things you can do to help your mental health, and that is set yourself some little challenges and break it down. There's so many people that understand backs really well, like physios and osteos and rehab specialists. Get in touch with them because they will help you with the mental side as well, because once you engage with someone that is passionate about fixing you up, you will gain the mental side of that as well. And that will lift your confidence that, things will get better. I don't think you need to put up with pain. I understand that some people, have chronic pain and struggle with it. But I'm still a firm believer that if you have the right mental attitude and you nurture your body and your mental health, you're a long way to, I think, to
heading in the right direction,
and treating the pain or seeing the pain, like you said, in a different light. And eat healthy as well. I think, nurturing the body, but also the mind. I went off alcohol for my whole rehab. And that was easy. Because I didn't want the mental depression that comes with alcohol, and I just wanted my body to have the best chance to recover. And also what we eat is my wife is a dietitian, and she knows a lot about food that's inflammatory. So we can take inflammatories, but we can also eat really well to reduce the inflammation. And inflammation can be the cause of a lot of pain.
Of course.
Especially when you think about your spinal cord or nerve. and it's just something rubbing against your nerve that's triggering an immense amount of pain, any amount of inflammation you can reduce, that might be the difference between massive pain and no pain.
Of course, and like you said, even the mental state affects your inflammation because it's your cortisol.
Yeah.
So when you shift your thinking, you are shifting your cortisol, which affects so the foods are, it's an integrated idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you really want to give yourself the best chance, it's got to be this integrated idea.
Holistic.
Yeah.
And do everything. The second thing I think that you need to do is, for me, is understanding what is wrong with the back, and that's, I think if you understand what's going on, you've got a better chance of maybe setting yourself some targets and what you can do, and that's, again, seeking help. I've had Amy and I've had my osteo and my physios, and they've just been amazing to help me get through this and understand what is happening when my back does get sore.
Great.
And having that knowledge and the exercises that you can do, do them.
Yeah.
And they work. They actually do work. They might be the weird. One of them, I have to wag my tail like a dog.
Oh, you haven't seen me. I've got some pretty weird ones.
People just look at me. What are you doing, Dad? I'm just wagging my tail that way. But it actually works.
Whatever works, exactly.
So that's that side of it. And then the last one. I had 3 points. Mental health. Well,
you're walking, I guess, was another one. Or if I keep talking, you'll think of it.
Yeah. Keep moving.
Keep moving.
Don't stop moving.
Okay. Yeah.
So you might be bedridden or whatever's caused your back, but there's things you can do in bed even.
Of course. Yeah.
You can work on your core. You can flex your pelvic muscles.
Yeah.
You can work on all that.
Yeah.
So keep moving.
Yeah.
And that's why I kept walking, because that's what I could do.
Yeah.
And I think movement is the body's trigger to get better. And it also helps the pain signals, which is, again, helping the body realise what is sore. If you don't move and you just masked everything with painkillers, how the hell is the body supposed to know to get better?
Exactly.
So I think keep moving.
Yeah, movement is such a powerful stimulus for releasing emotions.
Yeah.
For feeding all the necessary inputs to the brain so that it can form the new pathways. Movement does so much. I mean, we were born to move. We're dynamic creatures, and being static, but a lot of that is fear of the pain. But you've sort of talked about the difference, how you sort of distinguish the two pains, and I think that's a really good thing to consider.
So definitely keep moving, and when your back does get better, we fall into old habits easily, and we go back and sit down for 8 hours a day. You've got to have a maintenance for your back, and I think that's having good exercise regime, keep your core strong, which is getting back to what is a bulletproof back. I think maintaining that mobility in the back, that core strength, and mix up your exercises. So I'm finding a variety of exercises. I mean, people say work on the core, do some crunches. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about yoga, Pilates, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
But those endurance type of things as well, that to build just your core strength.
I think anything that takes you out of your normal habitual movement patterns is what you need to add. Yeah. And that will be different for everyone, won't it?
Yes, and mix it up.
Yeah.
And mix it up a bit.
Yeah, variety.
I just installed a chin-up bar because I can't go to the gym anymore because we've got closed.
Yeah.
But I found, just being able to hang on a chin-up bar just to pull my back out.
Beautiful.
So I just installed a chin-up bar and I just hang off it for 5 minutes a day. And
great.
And that works wonders.
Well, that'll open up your lungs and your digestive tract and stretch your diaphragm out a little bit, build your grip strength, which is super important as well. Good on you. Doesn't have to be tricky stuff, does it? It can be quite simple.
No, and then I've made changes at work. Obviously, sitting on a computer all day, I now stand up at a desk. I've built up now that I can stand up all day. I don't need to sit down.
Yeah. Which is a big deal for a compression fracture in your thoracic spine to be able to stand all day.
Yeah, I'm actually better. If I sit down, that's when I will get discomfort in the back. Yeah. So I find myself standing up anyway because I know if I sit down for long periods of time, I will end up in a bad way.
Yeah.
And to take 20 minutes out, just lie on the floor.
Yeah, great.
lying on the floor on a towel or carpet.
Yep.
Does wonders for your back.
It does.
Don't lie on a bed. It's too soft.
That's a really good point because the floor balances out rotations and lets spaces that normally are arched to fall. So, the firmness of a floor and gravity with a bit of breath and a bit of letting go of tension really just helps the spine sort of find a little bit of an alignment.
Yeah, I do like a 20-minute power nap where I just slow my breathing down and I'll just drift off into a little 20-minute nap.
Yep.
And I feel great afterwards, but you can feel the back just relaxing.
Softening.
Because you've been standing up, in my case, standing or sitting, everything gets compressed.
Yes.
So just lying down helps just pull all that out or go and hang on to that bar and pull everything out again.
Yeah. Good
but
stuff.
just be aware of that stuff in your day-to-day, I think, and then that will build your bulletproof back. I think if you pay attention to your back and you know what upsets your back and you know what keeps your back in good shape, then that you're on your way to having a bulletproof back.
Yeah.
But I think as soon as you ignore it and you just go away to old habits and then suddenly go and try and lift something heavy out of the car and your back goes, well, you can't be too upset that it's done that because you haven't looked
That's
after
what I say, Andrew. What were you expecting? Why are you shocked? What have you done for your back lately that you would expect it to be prime?
Yeah.
You know, it is that. So I'm glad someone else thinks like that. I don't often say it out loud, but in my head I think, well, what did you think was going to happen? All right. Well, look, I'm very grateful for you. And we thought we'd be struggling. That's fine. It is what it is, and however long it goes is however long it goes. So thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed listening to your thoughts and your insights.
I hope I've added some value to your listeners.
So do I. I mean, they'll be the judge of that, won't they?
They will.
I've enjoyed listening as well. I think you shared some really unique ideas, so I'll be filing them away in my memory bank as well. Good. All right. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks again, Andrew, for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. I sincerely hope my guest and I were able to share some valuable insights. If you know anyone struggling with stubborn back pain, please share the podcast with them. And for more information on my 8-week online Building a Bulletproof Back program, or for consulting with me privately via Zoom, check out the links in the show notes. Spread the message. There is hope for back pain sufferers when they find the right tools and the right people. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.